mar mondo mi wadhi achiel kachiel nyaka log tich mano mar duol mar IBC nyakorom gajwang e chal mar fwambo na nyisi ni gibiro bedo ka gilose e chal mano ma Kasipul bende motelo ne yiero ma adundo chieng' tarik 27 mano juma manyien. Wawinjana.
Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee. We are here to share with you our determination of this important matter which was brought before us. The matter that we'll share with you here involves Phillip Aroko versus Boyd Were Ongondo. This is a matter that has been brought to us under reference IEBC/ECCEC/BA/01 of 2025. As you all know, the complainant, Mr. Phillip Aroko, is a candidate vying for the Kasipul Member of National Assembly seat in the upcoming 27 November 2025 by-election. Similarly, Mr. Boyd Were Ongondo is a candidate on the ODM party contesting for the same seat. Mr. Phillip Aroko is an independent candidate. Both candidates brought complaints to this committee alleging that each one of them had caused violence by his supporters and that this violence had led to the death, destruction of property and injury as it is in the public domain there. The committee consolidated both cases into one. The committee has had time and has gone through the entire process, and today we want to share with you our findings. Because of time, I'll not go through the entire judgment. Feel free, our media liaison officer will share with you the entire judgment if you wish to have. In our analysis and determination, we found that the complaint before us raised the following issues. Number one, whether there was a failure by Mr. Aroko or Mr. Were or by both to comply with a harmonized campaign schedule. Roman 2, if the answer to the first question above is in the affirmative, whether that failure occasioned the violence which erupted in Kasipul constituency. 3, if the answer to question 2 above is in the affirmative, whether this violence indeed violated the law. And lastly, 4, if the answer to question 3 above is in the affirmative, whether Mr. Aroko or Mr. Were or both are guilty of violating the law. Ladies and gentlemen, it is clear that Article 84 of the Constitution provides that in every election, all candidates, all political parties shall comply with the code of conduct prescribed by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Moreover, the Elections Act, Section 110, requires that every political party and person who participates in an election or referendum under the Constitution and the Act to subscribe to and observe the Electoral Code of Conduct set out in the second schedule of the Act. Specifically, under B, that they must publicly and repeatedly condemn violence and intimidation and avoid the use of hate speech, language, or any kind of action which may lead to violence or intimidation, whether to demonstrate party strength, gain any kind of advantage, or for any other reason. But most importantly, refrain from any action involving violence or intimidation. Ladies and gentlemen, The law, as stipulated, says that it shall not be okay for any aspirant, candidate, or participant in an election or political process to inflict harm, violence, intimidation to anyone. The committee notes that on the 6th of November 2025, the two candidates appearing before it, together with their supporters, were indeed at Opondo area. That Opondo area is where the incident occurred. Both parties agree that they were not meant to be campaigning at Opondo area on that day. This position was further confirmed by the returning officer that both parties were not permitted to be in Opondo area where this violence and fatalities occurred. It is not in doubt that some of the candidates may have the intention to amend their campaign schedules. It is, however, important to note that not all of them turned up to a security meeting which the returning officer had convened earlier and where the issue of amendment of campaign schedules was discussed, but the returning officer gave a firm no, because not all candidates were present, and therefore no amendment to the schedule could have been effected. This committee finds that the failure by the two candidates to adhere to the directions of the RO and of the Commission as required under paragraph 6E, K, Roman 1 and 3 of the Electoral Code of Conduct cited above resulted into violence and, regrettably, the death of the two people. In the multiplicity of allegations advanced by both parties against each other, it emerged that, number one, arms and weapons were carried and displayed in the campaign rallies. The candidates failed to cooperate and failed to liaise in good faith with each other to avoid organizing public meetings, demonstrations, rallies, or marches to take place at the same time, and venue as similar political events organized by other parties. Moreover, the candidates failed to take reasonable steps to discipline and restrain their supporters from infringing the Electoral Code of Conduct and engaging in activities which constitute offenses under the electoral laws, and even some are criminal in nature. The committee finds that the failure by the two candidates to stick to the campaign schedule resulted in the violence, deaths, and destruction of property which were witnessed on 6 November 2025. During the hearing, the committee was informed that both candidates proceeded to Oyugis police station, each one separately, to report against each other. Article 251 provides that each commission and each holder of an independent office may conduct investigations on its own initiative or on complaint made by a member of the public. So it's on this enabling provision of the law that this committee and the commission proceeded to dispatch its investigation team in Kasipul, and the position that gives us this authority was also affirmed by the Supreme Court in the decision popularly referred to as IBC by Sabina Wanjiro Chege case. So, pursuant to the above, internal investigations were conducted by the Commission. In the investigation report, it was revealed that indeed the two candidates reported the matter and the same recorded under OB number 31-06-11-2025 and OB number 38/06/11 of 2025. So each one obtained an OB against the other. Further, a police report indicated that 2 people died in the violence that ensued, several were injured, and property destroyed. The reports also pointed out instances of violence and damage to property within Kasipul constituency attributable to the two candidates. This committee is seized further of intelligence reports corroborating the allegations of interference by the Homa Bay County government in political activities within Kasipul constituency. This committee condemns the use of public resources and involvement of public officers in political campaigns, as this is in contravention of Section 14 of the Elections Offences Act, Cap 66, and has to stop. The committee is appalled by the gravity of violence, deaths, and damage to property caused by campaign-related activities within Kasipul constituency. Ladies and gentlemen, Kasipul is bleeding. It has to stop. Astonishingly, when police officers attempted to arrest suspects in relation to the violence witnessed on 6 November 2025, the officers were attacked and the suspects freed by persons associated with one of these candidates. So who is safe? The committee would like to emphasize that the electoral process must remain a democratic space where all individuals can freely express their views and support candidates of their choice without fear of violence, harm, or loss of property. Respect for the sanctity of life demands that every leader takes responsibility in guiding their supporters to uphold peace and protect the rights of others. Every leader. Upon keenly listening to the parties and considering all the facts and law, it is the committee's finding that the two candidates in this matter are responsible for the violence witnessed in Kasipul constituency. Our finding as the committee, therefore, is as follows: that in the context of both oral and written submissions of the parties, the committee finds that both candidates are in violations of paragraph 6A, B, C, E, I, K, M, and N of the Electoral Code of Conduct. Having fully applied its mind to the foregoing provisions of the law, the analysis of the facts, and oral submissions by the respective parties, and pursuant to the provisions of paragraph 7 of the Code, the committee hereby orders as follows. A, that a stern and formal warning be and is hereby issued to Mr. Phillip Aroko, the independent candidate for member of National Assembly election in Kasipul constituency, in the upcoming by-elections, to respect and obey IBC's harmonized campaign schedule as agreed upon by all candidates on 10th October 2025 without any deviation whatsoever. B, in no lesser terms, a stern warning be and is hereby issued and directed to Mr. Boyd Wereongondo, being the ODM candidate in the same by-elections in Kasipul constituency, to respect and obey IEBC's harmonized campaign schedule as agreed upon by all candidates on the 10th of October 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, this committee cannot emphasize enough that it is disrespect for the harmonized campaign schedule that led to the violence and the loss of the innocent lives. C, Mr. Phillip Aroko, for the violation, is hereby condemned to pay a fine of Kenya shillings 1 million to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission within 48 hours of these orders. D, that Mr. Boyd Wereongondo is condemned similarly for the violation to pay a fine of Kenya shillings 1 million to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission within 48 hours of these orders. E, a most stern warning be and is hereby issued to both candidates that should any violation of the Electoral Code be repeated by any of them, this committee will consider all penalties under the law, including, with emphasis, their disqualification from participating in the November 27th by-elections altogether. F, both candidates shall before this committee immediately upon rendering of this decision, which we have already done today, sign the political decency charter publicly and declare publicly before this media assembled here to uphold peace and tolerance in their campaigns with a clear undertaking that reneging from it would amount to a violation of the Electoral Code of Conduct. They ought to declare and speak to their supporters that violence will not be accepted. G, the committee makes no orders as to costs. Dated at Nairobi, this 19th day of November 2025, this judgment is signed duly by Commissioner Alutalala Mukhwana, being the chairperson, Commissioner Hassan Nur Hassan being a member, Commissioner Mary Karen Sorobit being a member, Commissioner Anderito being a member, and Commissioner Professor Francis Adwal being a member. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of this committee, we thank you for coming and thank you for airing this to the people of Kasipul and to the nation. The chairperson of the IEBC and all commissioners are clear that what this committee has rendered today ought to serve as a clear warning to all participants in Kasipul and elsewhere that children must be safe wherever they are on those roads where the violence is being caused. That women, the sick, the elderly, the youth must freely stride into polling centers and cast their vote without fear that a machete will hack their head, without a fear that politicians will cause their lives to end because of politics. I thank you.
Manokanyo Moses Mkwana mabende na commissioner manomara IBC